What's up, guys? This is going to be part 2 of the Djeeta cooldown cycling tutorial. Forgive me if this takes a long time. There is a lot to go through. But before I kind of get into the specific recordings that I prepared to kind of show off a lot of the sequences and combo routes, I want to talk about selection, right? And selection being kind of what made you decide to do this combo in the first place, right? And a lot of times we kind of look at constraints in a way where we're like, okay, I don't have EX Fireball right now, and I only have EX Rekka and DP, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, what exactly am I aiming for here, right? So, kind of just to illustrate this example a little bit, right? Say I want to do a block string into EX Fireball, and now I'm at a point where I have to decide whether to use EX DP or Rekka. So I'm gonna go for DP, and I'm gonna do my best here. And I don't have my Fireball cooldown, and right? So suddenly, I'm in a weird spot. I didn't do a lot of damage. I already got 2 hits, and I wasn't in a great scenario. If I blew my EX Fireball here for pressure, all I had was DP left, right? And then I would just have to take the same thing, 1 knockdown, right? So we want to look at these derivative scenarios in a way where it influences, you know, the choices we make. So this is where the selection comes in, and this is why knowing how to cycle your cooldowns properly is so important, right? You're looking at the end game when you start doing these things, because your threat is what makes you really scary on these safe jumps and stuff like that, right? Because if you have no ability to confirm or no ability to do these like offensive mixes, then you know you kind of shot yourself in the foot. So managing your cooldowns in that way is also an important priority, right? So one of those things that you think about here is, right, when I do this, it's fantastic when I can do 2A close medium, but can't always do that, right? Because if you want to keep them in the corner and it's worth your while to keep them in the corner, right? Sometimes it's a worthwhile trade-off, right? If this is your only confirm option, you need to have Rekka to do that, right? Or you want to keep them in the corner and you only have Fireball, but this doesn't work. So what do? So instead of trying to go for this airtight 2A mix, right, you can go for the 5AA frame trap stuff, which is why I highlighted that earlier. Right? So those kinds of ideas influence your safe jump, but overall, the derived scenarios are things that you should be considering too, right? Because say, what happens if it's blocked, right? What happens if they just eat this hit here? Can I convert this properly? So this is attempting to optimize around that. So just to kind of put it into perspective and give a quick example, when I talked about using EXDP earlier instead of Rekka, right? What happens if I choose to use Rekka there instead? So I can kind of change it from a like 4 to 5 touch scenario into like a 3 touch scenario more feasibly, right? So let's say do a block string, right? And then I'm gonna do Rekka instead. Right? Whoa. I am suddenly in a way better position. I got 3 touches and my next one would have killed. That is a huge difference just because I decided to use EX Rekka instead of DP, right? And the derivative scenarios were all pretty good, right? Say I did a confirm here. And I'm going to use the XCP here for the knockdown. I'll take the sweep. I have Fireball, right? Well, I don't have it yet, but I got it now, right? So those are all the things that you want to keep in mind, right? You did extra damage, and by the time that you needed it to confirm, you had it, right? And it was the second hit of 5AA, or auto combo into A or whatever, right? So optimizing in that sense is what we're looking for. And we definitely want to kill our opponent in as few hits as possible, right? So we're hitting this compromise of consistent average damage while still maximizing threat and confirmability. So understanding how your safe jump works and how to actually get those hits is really important, right? Really important, because as always, when you're cycling your cooldowns, the point is the next hit, right? So this is gonna be a little slow. Forgive me if it takes a long time, but here we've got our first recording. So this recording is from the right corner and moves all the way to the left corner and kind of shows how you'd be confirming a lot of these hits at farther spacings, right? Why would I choose to do DP here? Why would I choose to do Rekka at this range and stuff like that? So from a full screen perspective, I'll try to contrast the difference between DP and Rekka, right? Because you're not really going to be confirming it to Fireball. And, it doesn't really spend a lot of time. Doesn't really help you cycle your cooldown super well, but if you do happen to confirm it to Fireball, right, and you do take a knockdown with it, you can cycle your next cooldown pretty well, right? Look, as with the example that I showed earlier, we got it back, we got it back, we got it back, right? So understanding that stuff is with this, right? I mean, obviously, if I got a knockdown with EX Fireball, it would work with the same sequence that I did on block, right? So we're going to be looking at a lot of fringe cases. Yes. Fantastic. So let me just go on with it. This is going to show full screen EX Rekka confirm into a Fireball confirm that cycles all three of your cooldowns, so that you have all three of your cooldowns available for the next confirm, right? So the Fireball DP into Rekka confirm actually does the most damage, but it's not the most practical because you can't get it at this range, but it's still important to know. So here we go, right? So mid-screen, we're gonna take this EX knockdown, and obviously this is a safe jump. I showed this safe jump off before earlier. Right? I'm gonna take the knockdown here. Oh my god, I'm gonna DP, so here's the airtight low, right? So here, look, my Rekka came back, we're cycling it, and we're gonna take a non-EX knockdown, right? And that was the front side safe jump, right? I'm gonna stop going back and forth over this once you start getting a little more familiar with these concepts, but that was the front side safe jump into airtight 2A far out confirm, right? So here. Cool, I can't do anything here. Yep. And this is a ton of damage, right? I'm gonna take the sweep. So here, I can't do anything. Airtight low, cool, right? And suddenly, what happens, right? She burnt all three of her cooldowns again. And I'm dead. Fantastic, right? This is what we were looking for. This is how we'd want to cycle our confirms like this. And the entire thing is safe, right? Those are all safe jumps. This is an airtight low. What happens if I block here? I get some pretty good confirm options back, right? At the kind of risk of not having things for pressure and whatnot, but I get them back so quickly and such a decent sequence that suddenly, right, if I do this, if I have AA, with the threat of Rekka behind it, and they let me repressure, I get Fireball back again. That's sick, right? So your pressure reset even becomes more threatening there. That's what happens if you pick Rekka from this distance, right? But what if I pick DP instead? So you can also get the same safe jump off DP. The reason why I'm using super jumps in a lot of these scenarios is to get that closer distance. And also, because you want to hit with the later active frames of your move at a specific height, the faster falling speed of super jumps is essential, right? If I was to do this kind of safe jump, not off of a normal jump, right? I use JU, but look, I can't do 2A close medium. The spacing's out of whack, so that's why I'm using super jump all the time. There we go. All right, so here's the safe jump. I don't know if I just showed this being a safe jump, but there we go. Cool. Fantastic. Here's the airtight low into the close medium confirm. Good stuff, right? So there's 2 touches, right? And here's 3. Right, so I can mash that through there. But if I mash throw on any, mash that throw, yeah, I can mash the throw with close light, right? If I try to do that on any other one, those 2As work. I showed this throw here also to kind of show that I can't mash 2A at the end of it, right? So I'm gonna try to mash 2A after I block the safe jump. Did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? It caught my first active frame of 2A. Because strike throw interaction on the same frame, the throw will win, right? So that's kind of one of the other illustrated strengths of the safe jump. Definitely something important to notice, but if you could also see there, I got 3 hits, but I couldn't kill with super, right? I had to go for the throw to kill there, which is a kind of another mix. So suddenly we look at a difference in reward that I get because I used EXDP from full screen instead of Rekka, right? So sometimes you have to, sometimes Rekka will be on cooldown and stuff like that, so that's kind of where you'd want to go with it. But ultimately, this routing is the most stable one, I'd say, and very important to know, right? Because you can get it off of a variety of hits, right? You can do it from very far away, a lot of like airtight, like, you know, forced front scenarios, you'd be able to transition into this kind of thing. Sometimes, depending on the setup, if you're cycling your cooldowns, you will need to do the full auto combo into it, but also delay the second Rekka input while she's on the ground, right? So those are just little execution tips for stuff like that. But as you can see, it looped back into itself, right? So that's something to note with this route. And this is something that is pretty unique to the route because of how it's spaced out. This actually connected pretty well, right? I got to do the exact same combo, which was nice, but I was forced to use this in order to get the full cooldown reset, right? If I just went for that or a forced front, I would have to go for sweep, and then my options would change, right? So you can make these choices depending on how much life your opponent has left and what you have available to you, but those are just a couple of examples. Going back to the combo from the first one with Fireball, right? This did more damage, but right, at the end of it, I opted to go for the full 3-hit, 3EX move Rekka route, right? And I got it off of this. Huh, right? So that's one of the other rewards of doing that high damaging route, right? The cooldowns, you save your Rekka cooldown, and it still gives you enough time to cycle back into the full damaging route. So the reward of that route is not just the damage, it's the ideal cooldown situation afterwards, which makes it really, really good. If you can go for it, because after that, after you do that 3EX confirm, your next 3EX confirm is going to be like thick as hell, right? So yeah, cool. So now kind of more mid-screen to corner-esque, right? So this is from start position. So this is the frame trap, one of the frame traps I was talking about earlier. So say if you have Rekka on cooldown or something, right? Smoke! Nice match, right? So okay, I'm gonna respect. Oh, just kidding. So I mashed here, right? Because I think I'm smart. So say I'm an observant attacker and she's doing this fireball, and after me delaying and getting hit here, she can pick up the confirm. The recording can't do it on a reaction, of course. But so I'm gonna eat this, right? And let's eat this combo. Cool. And what's the next one? Here, on a mash. Alright, it didn't work because nice frame trap, right? So this is one of the ways that you can cycle your EX into DP. Or EX Rekka into DP. And this kind of shows more of the threat of 5AA into whatever, right? So if you use EXDP here and they land in the corner, right? In this scenario, she has EXDP, EX Fireball, and EX Rekka. So she can do whatever she wants, right? She can do whatever she wants. If someone realizes that they've respected you and you got to do a kind of like tricky frame trap into a plus move and they want to mash you out, right? This is what this is for. Right? And you see it crush, boom, killed, and the paration's great, and they're dead. Right? So we're in a good spot. I had the X Fireball again there, even if I had to take the knockdown. So that's one of the other things to note. When you look at that combo route, it has a complement, right? Fireball into B Rekka, into Rekka EXDP, always goes back into Fireball EX Rekka. You can use B Rekka, you can use EX Rekka to extend it for a kill. But this is definitely the kind of threat that you want behind your 5AA frame traps, right? And that shows how you'll be cycling your cooldowns after your 5AA frame traps, right? And how you'll be able to convert them. So the next one shows a kind of different scenario where the EX Fireball gets blocked, right? So we're still going into EXDP here, but, you know, okay, I go for Force Front and... I use EX Fireball here and it gets blocked. So this is a kind of what happens if they block it scenario, right? So I still get pretty good confirmability here, right? And let's go, nice. Alright. Nice, pretty good stuff, pretty good stuff. So that kind of shows also how they still work in tandem even when Fireball gets blocked, right? You can still go for Rekka into DP to cycle your Fireball into Rekka confirm. And there at the end, I burnt the EX just to do a little extra damage to kind of, you know, make it a more feasible kill scenario. But there you go, right? Like, it's pretty threatening stuff, right? Even though I did burn the EX Fireball and it got blocked there, how did I still die so easily? So those are the kind of 4 combo routes and concepts you want to know for cycling your cooldowns. There's a lot of combo correction to keep in mind, right? As I showed one earlier in a scenario where you didn't have the EX Fireball, what happens if you're missing 2 or missing all of them, right? Obviously, if you're missing all of them, you can't do anything. And if you're missing 2, you have no option but to extend your combos as much as possible using 1 move and then meterless confirms. So a lot of this is focused around 2 in tandem, 2 in tandem, 2 in tandem, because that's where the synergy comes in, right? The next one, and the next one, and the next one. So the other thing to keep in mind is easy inputs, right? Easy input DP and easy input Rekka are your most practical uses of easy inputs. Easy input Rekka is ridiculous, right? You can just be walking, boom, Rekka. Or easy input DP for anti-air, right? It's all important stuff. But the downside of this is your cooldowns are longer, right? So I wanted to show a little bit of correction, like combo correction for these scenarios where you have this stuff kind of on cooldown. So here, I'm gonna make her burn EX Rekka here, right? So I should jump. So this is a frame trap, right? So we use EX Rekka and it's a frame trap. And what do I got? Okay. Okay. So I get Rekka back here, right? But I have to do this full confirm, right? But I'm still able to cycle back into the 3EX, and it still leaves me in a good position. Right? It still leaves me in a good position. So we went from having a like elongated Rekka cooldown into still being able to convert those next hits really, really well. And it's part of that routing, right? It's part of that routing. So this Fireball into DP route leaves me with Rekka to confirm off whatever, right? I actually didn't need to do this, but if I wanted to go into the kind of 3-cycle Rekka route, I would have to do the auto combo. You could still stay front and go for stuff like that and still preserve a lot of threat, but you know, you have your options, right? You have your options. So if you're starting to get a better feel for this kind of thing, great. But there's one last thing to kind of acknowledge is when you have the shittiest confirms possible, right? Say I have everything else on cooldown, I have to go for sleep here, right? But there's a little bit of reward behind that, actually. Alright, let's get it. So here, we go for the knockdown, right? So there's my shitty confirm. There's my really, really shitty confirm. That is sad that I only have to, like, I can only do Rekka sweep, right? And you might be thinking, oh, you still have Fireball, right? But if you use Fireball there, you lose it for pressure, right? Say you go for Rekka into Fireball without DP. I'm in a horrible scenario. My next hit, I can confirm it to DP, and then it just sucks. It just sucks, right? So it's not really super worth the damage, but there's a little bonus thing that I'll include later. One exception, and it has to do with how Djeeta's glowing right now, but going back to it, right? So I'm forced to do Rekka sweep here, and, you know, my life kind of sucks, right? My life kind of sucks, but this is off of an easy input DP. You have to keep that in mind. This is off of easy input DP. The cooldown for DP is longer, so you won't have access to it as easily. So, alright, so I remember what SKD said about holding forward, so I'm gonna hold forward here, and I'm gonna die, because I thought I was slick, right? So suddenly, we went from using EXDP as a reversal to killing them, right? And it has to do with how we cycled our cooldowns, right? Judging by this kind of RPS is like relatively feasible 3-hit scenario, right? Off of a fucking EXDP easy input, right? Because Rekka Sweep actually has some pretty good rewards behind it, right? It let me go into my most damaging route because I played it safe and conservative right there. So that's kind of the reward that you get off of doing Rekka Sweep. And when you start thinking of these things in chunks, right? When you start thinking about it as, this is my reward for doing Rekka Sweep, and recognizing the derivative scenarios there, you could go crazy, because this is the worst case scenario, as I was saying earlier, right? This is a fringe case where you have EXDP, and I'm doing a lot of this stuff as kind of quick as possible to show that this is like the limit of where your cooldown will come back. So it's kind of like a rule of thumb sort of deal, right? Where if you use Rekka this way, your next confirm you'll be able to do this kind of thing, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But if you really did want to do damage, right? And you're really feeling it in your heart that you wanted to do damage off of that Rekka, let's see what we got. Oh, whoops. There we go. It should be here. Yeah. I'm gonna block this. Alright, and I got shimmied. Alright. So this is funny, right? This may make you laugh, but it actually lets you cycle your cooldowns again pretty well, right? So that in mind, off of the EXDP, right? Or the easy input EXDP. My DP cooldown is not going to come back, right? Alright, so I got shimmied, so maybe I'll throw next time. Look at Chad. Got him! Right? But if you do OS tech here, OS spot dodge tech, she'll explode you. Or if you throw late or whatever, right? So obviously this is going to kill, but this is just another thing to show how these cooldowns get cycled properly. Yeah. You can even use level 3 or level 4 or 5U to help cycle the cooldown there, which is good shit. Good shit. So, yeah, hopefully that kind of illustrated a lot of the cooldown cycling that you're gonna need to know. The combo routes are hopefully obvious enough. I think I did a little bit of like tricky stuff with like the late active 2A close heavy. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. That route you can do with that. You can do 2L RL into EXDP and still get that. But the spacing is important to recognize. You have to walk back a little bit, but it does let you get the same kind of cycling stuff down. So yeah, hopefully that gave you a kind of good idea of where to go with this kind of thing. If you need any kind of reference, definitely just look back at the recordings and you'll be able to see kind of where the combos go, right? Where the combos go, what the combos are, how you use them. And especially in like a recording scenario, right? It's a lot easier to look at the cooldowns as they're coming back, right? And keeping that in mind, you want to look at the cooldowns that are coming back because it'll influence how much threat you have over the scenario. Good stuff, good stuff. Pretty heavy concepts, I think, overall. I'm sorry this took so long, but there's a lot to it, you know, there's a lot to it. So kind of just to go back over it, the first 4 recordings I showed were the most important ones that you need to know, and the 5th and 6th ones were kind of like combo correction, right? So I'll kind of speed back through them, just to, you know, give it one last go over, just so that you get to see them and you don't have to flick through the whole video right here. So here, this is going to be the corner confirm. So similarly to doing a Rekka sweep, right? The reward you get from doing Rekka mid-screen is also that same routing, where you get to kill them, like, you just delete them, right? It's fantastic. So usually at very, very far ranges, Rekka is a much better pick than DP. But if they're going to end up in the corner, right, then you will want to use DP. Because boom, 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 you end up with Fireball and Rekka, and then I showed that those 2 routes from that recording loop into each other. But that's the next one. So this is what happens if you use EXDP instead, right? Or you kind of have to. Right? There's less derived damage. Set play, quote unquote, it's a little worse, but you still get this ability to cycle your cooldowns really, really well. Not quite a kill scenario, but remember what I said about the throw setups right there, right? That's how you make your throw setup really good. You want it to catch 2A attempts so that they have to stand mash you. And I think this is, yeah. So this is the one where EXDP goes into the other 2, right? So this is more along the lines of like the 5AA fringe traps. So that crushed my close L, right? That's the full confirm, and I die. Right? Super so cool. Look at him pop off. He's like, yeah, I am so cool. I just killed you in 3 hits. Fantastic. Right? So the next one is also showing how this progresses once that fireball gets blocked. Right? Cool. Yeah, so that's the 2A close heavy thing I was talking about. That shit is way too hard. Maybe you shouldn't go for that. Yeah, and there's the EX burn to get the super. So you can extend that a little more, but for Oki, it's unnecessary. Normally, if you're going for Oki, right, you'll just sweep here. Don't burn the EX. Only burn the EX if you want to go for a super or something, right? Or even DP here is not going to combo. Anyway, so those are the 4 most important recordings, I'd say, if you want to see 5 and 6 again. Alright, nice cycle, nice cycle. Okay, and you're actually able to go back into the 3-cycle Rekka. Right. And when you look at this kind of 3-cycle Rekka ender, you're left with that, right? You know, let's look at it. Aha! I got my Rekka back in time to be threatening enough to do a frame trap so that I could repressure it and then do my like airtight fireball or something like that, right? So your options from that one actually come back at a very, very nice pace, but you have to really have a strategy behind that. So if you opt for a quicker confirm, right, you'll have to go into Rekka Sweep. But remember the reward you get off of Rekka Sweep. It's the next combo that will kill them, right? So the same thing applies to the end of like the Rekka 3 cycle route. And here we go. This is I think from full screen. Yeah, so this is also highlighting the Rekka Sweep correction reward. Eat this. Nice thick combo. Bombos. Nice bombos, Steven. Nice. Okay, let me get out of here. And if you want to see the last one again for some reason, here you go. I had to be a little closer for this to record properly. So that's the routing you pick for the 5U. And as you see, you know, the combo takes long enough for you to actually get your EX Fireball back to get that extension. Even though most cases it's not really going to be worth it. Honestly, in my opinion, 5U is much better used as just a pressure tool rather than for a confirm thing, so I wouldn't really try to make so much use of it. But if it's going to kill, that routing is pretty nice, right? Because you can even get away with stuff like into close heavy and then whatever, right? You could do super, you could blah 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 blah, right? For some reason I don't know what's wrong with me today. My game is not reading that. You look at my perfect game. What's going on? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, learned a lot. It's definitely been a long video, but there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. But yep, hopefully you can make better use of it than I will. Have fun. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. No problem. Thanks.